it's Shelly. Welcome to my channel, What's True. I'm excited for you to be here today. We are going to tackle the phrase that I'm sure you've heard. I know I've said it. You might have said it also. It is this: God won't give you more than you can handle. Haven't we all heard that? Usually we say it when someone's going through a particularly big trial. Maybe it is a sickness or the loss of a job or something in their finances that are really going wrong. Big, difficult decisions that the person has no idea how to navigate. And we're not sure how to encourage that person. So we say, friend, I don't know. God knows. He must not have given this to you unless you could handle it, right? God won't give you more than you can handle. To which I used to think to myself, I don't know. It kind of feels like this is bigger than I can handle. I would think to myself, is that right? Am I just some kind of strong person that can go through stronger storms than other people? People would tell me all of the time during this particularly dark season, you're so amazing, you're so strong. I don't know how you're going through all that you're going through. I could never go through all of these things like you are. I would never make it. How do you do it? You're superwoman. And at that time, I would think, I don't know what you're talking about. I am not superwoman. I am not stronger than anybody else. I am not like that inside at all. I am totally the bubble bath and fuzzy slippers kind of a girl. If life was like a ski slope and there are those like adventurous double black diamond kind of people, that's not me. I am the blue circled, well-groomed on a sunny day, not very much a steep incline kind of girl. And so when people would say that God wouldn't give you more than you could handle, I would stop and think, well, how does this work? Is God sitting up there with this big bag of trials and he looks down and goes, oh, there's Shelly. She's really strong. I can give her the really tough stuff. But this other sister, well, she's a little bit weaker and more delicate. And so I'm just going to sprinkle little trials, not very strong ones, over her. And I thought, how do I get signed up for that group? I don't want to be in the group that I'm in. Well, commonly, the scripture that Christians often will turn to when they use that phrase, God won't give you more than you can handle, comes in 1 Corinthians 10:13. No temptation has taken you that is not common to man. God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond your ability, but with the temptation, he will provide a way of escape that you might be able to endure it. So that is a scripture that most Christians tie to that idea that we're talking about today. But remember, we can't just take one scripture out of context and run away with it. I like how my daughter Melissa recently said, in what other book do we just open up a book, pull out one sentence, and think we know what the author is talking about? Well, just like that doesn't make sense with reading a book, neither does it make sense with the Bible. So Paul in the Corinthians, his letter to the Corinthians, is writing to new believers. This is a young church. They are in a city, Corinth, that is filled with all kinds of immorality, all kinds of pagan worship, all kinds of idolatry, basically all kinds of temptation and sin. And his letter is a warning to them, to these young believers. They have decided to follow Christ. That means that they're going to have to do away with some of the practices of their culture. They can't walk in the ways that they used to walk any longer. In the scripture right before the scripture I just read, in verse 12, it says, therefore, let anyone who thinks he stand take heed lest he fall. So in talking about the temptation that is surrounding them everywhere in Corinth, he warns them, hey, look, there is all kinds of garbage going on out there. And don't be overconfident that you can just hang out with your old friends in your old haunts and I'm fine, I'm not going to be tempted. He gives them a warning, ooh, Big red flag. That is not true. With temptation all around, you better be careful or you will slip. In verse 14, the verse after, he says, therefore, my beloved, flee from idolatry. What does flee mean? It means run. When temptation is surrounding you, don't just stand there and think that you are confident in your own strength and power to resist it. Hey, run. And so let's go back and look at that scripture again. 1 Corinthians 10:13, no temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. So Paul is warning the Corinthians, hey, look, you don't have an excuse by saying, oh, this is something we'd never seen before. So I was tempted by it because it's a new thing. He said, no temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. There's no new sin under the sun. So we can't use that as an excuse of why we fell into it. It says, God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond what you're able to bear. Why? He will provide a way of escape for us that we might be able to endure that temptation. So it's like if you were in this dark tunnel of temptation and there are things tempting you all around in those movies, right, where people are trapped underground, and then all of a sudden they see that light and they're like, there's the way out. We're going to make it. We're going to survive. That is what God promises to do for us. When we're tempted on every side, he will provide a way of escape. So he will give us wisdom. He will give us friends that will stand by our side to see us through. He will provide a way of escape. So it sounds like in that scripture in Corinthians, it's talking about temptation. It's warning against temptations that are out there to those young believers. And it's giving the promises of God in regards to temptation. That doesn't sound like that scripture is actually tied to trials or testing or any kind of big storm or sicknesses at all. So in regards to, does God give us more than we can handle? We're going to have to look a little bit deeper than that scripture. Let's look back into the Bible at some of the people of the Bible. Let's look into their life and see, does God give them more than they can handle? Let's first look at the life of Moses. Moses, who, when God selected him to lead the children out of Israel, he didn't even want to be selected. He's like, I don't even talk well. I'm not even eloquent. Hey, pick my brother Aaron. He's a better fit. When Moses was leading the children out of Israel and they are being chased by Pharaoh's armies behind them, and then all of a sudden the Red Sea is in front of them and they are trapped. Would we have looked at Moses and gone, you got this, Moses? I mean, he would have said, no, I don't got this. How about Daniel? When he is about to be lowered into the lion's den, would we have said to Daniel, hey, no worries, bud, you got this. You're strong enough to be able to endure this. How about Esther? Would we have interviewed Esther on a microphone and said, hey, Esther, your entire race, Jewish race, is about to be annihilated. What's your plan? I don't think she had a big master plan of how to rescue all of the Jewish people from annihilation. If we want to look at somebody who went through a lot in the Bible, we can look no further than the life of Job. His enemies came upon him and murdered his entire family. All of his possessions, all of his livestock, and everything that he owned was either stolen or killed. He was left with nothing but the shirt on his back, and I think even he was afflicted with some kind of horrible disease or sores or boils from head to toe. I mean, he was in utter misery. He even had friends that surrounded him and they're like, hey, buddy, what'd you do wrong to deserve all of this? I mean, nothing was going his way. Would we have said to Job, well, God knows he wouldn't give you this unless you're able to handle it, Job? I bet every one of these people, if we could interview them, they would say they were in way over their heads. They couldn't handle the situation. How about the New Testament? we can look at the life of Paul, and he is a great example of a believer that faced many hardships: shipwreck, hunger, imprisonment. He was beaten. He was left for dead. He was ultimately martyred, right? He gives us good insight into, does God give us more than we can handle? In 2 Corinthians 1, 8 through 10, this is what Paul says: "For we do not want you to be unaware, brothers, of the affliction we experienced in Asia. For we were so utterly burdened beyond our strength that we despaired of life itself. Indeed, we felt we had received the sentence of death." Does that sound like he was going through something more than he could handle? Yes. Have you gone through something like that that is more than you can handle? I bet you have. I know I have. Maybe you're in that place right now. This is what Paul says: "But that was to make us rely not on ourselves, but on God, who raises the dead. He delivered us from such deadly peril, and he will deliver us. On him we can set our hope that he will deliver us again." So it sounds like, according to Paul, God can give us more than we can handle. God probably will give us more than we can handle. And if we look throughout the whole Bible, God commonly gives his followers more than we can handle, so that we rely not on ourselves, but on him. When he gets us through a storm, who gets the glory? Not us. It is God that gets the glory. In good moments, when things are good, I get to know this precious, sweet, loving, amazing side of God that I wouldn't know if my life were only filled with trial. But on the other side, when life is really tough, when I feel like I'm drowning and I don't know which way to turn and there are no reasonable answers of how to get through this, I can know a side of God's character that I would never know if life were always great the way I would like it to be. I can know God's loving kindness in a different way. I can know his comfort. I can know his provision. I can know his protection. I can, in moments of my weakness, when I am weak, I can experience his strength and how faithful he really is to see me through those times. So if you're worried that you're not strong enough to get through the trials and storms that you might be facing, you are in good company. Does God give us more than we can handle? Absolutely. But is God sovereign? Is he faithful to see us through it and he be the one to strengthen us? Absolutely. And that's what's true. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I know I'm learning something every time myself. If you have any ideas of scriptures you would like me to tackle or ideas from our culture, please leave them in the comment section below. Please hit that like button, subscribe, and support my channel, and I will see you next time on What's True. Bye-bye.